Hey everyone, I'm here with Todd Fry. I know he's been one of our clients for a little while now, and just wanted to get a little bit of a success interview together with him. I know he's been doing really well with our program so far, and I just want him to really walk us through exactly what he's doing on his side to see success. Once he gets a lead in, how he calls them, what he says on the phone, all of that to make sure that our current clients and our prospective clients have success with our program as well. So, really, just to start us off, Todd, introduce yourself. Tell everyone who you are, a little about the agency, and then we'll go from there.
Well, good morning. My name is Todd Fry with Fry Integra Insurance. I am located in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolis. Uh, our agency's been in business for about 40 years. I am second generation owner. I bought it from my dad when he retired back in 2015. He originally started out as a farmer's agency back in the early 80s. And then in like 2001, 2002, he became independent. We've been independent ever since. I focus primarily on commercial. I do a little bit of personal lines, but not a whole lot. We're a fairly small agency, about $3 million in premium, and really looking to grow the commercial side of the business. And so we've kind of gone all in on that.
Awesome, awesome, nice, nice. And as far as kind of where I know you said you're more of a small agency. It's you're in a smaller town essentially. I know you're in Texas, it's a huge state, but where you're specifically located, how were you getting clients before? And I know you're using our leads, of course, right now to grow, but before, were you doing a lot of word of mouth? Were you relying on referrals? Like, how was that? Was it just slow? Was it
Yeah,
inconsistent?
yeah. Historically, we've been working primarily off of referrals and word of mouth. Like I said, I'm in my hometown,
Mhm.
and we've been in business quite a while, and so we were just relying on the organic word of mouth and referrals. But that is very inconsistent. When they come in, they're
Mhm.
great. They're usually really high closing percentage, but you just can't ever count on when they're going to come in. And so we needed a more steady, reliable source of leads, and that's why we turned to you guys.
Definitely, definitely. I know, especially with the referrals too in your warm market, it's one of those things that's king. I mean, whenever they're coming in and they're flowing in, that's the best, the hottest lead you
Right.
could get because they're borrowing the authority of whoever referred them. But then when you start, tapping out that warm market, or you start, I like to call it the referral roller coaster. Some months you get a lot, some months you get a little
Yeah.
bit, and you really want to smooth out that curve to make sure you get a lot more consistency, a lot more predictability. So that's
Well, the other
yeah, go
thing
ahead.
is with referrals, you couldn't control what type of business you were getting. Sometimes a referral
Hmm.
would be great. Other times it would be a $500 bot policy and just no premium, no revenue. Um, but you still feel obligated to handle those because they're a referral.
Hmm.
Whereas if we are going after specific niches and size of businesses, we can better control what it is that's coming into the agency, and that's what I was trying to do with you guys.
That definitely makes sense there. Because the more control you have too, you're focusing, you're putting more of your effort into the higher premium things. And I know
Right.
you've closed a couple of really good policies with us and everything. What's your I guess what's your process when we send over a lead? What's your process? I mean, how quickly are you calling them? What do you say on the phone? What questions are you asking? Just to help out some of our other clients who maybe having some issues with that or may not be as well versed in dealing with prospects that aren't referrals.
Well, a lot of it depends on the types of businesses that you're going after,
Hmm.
as to um, kind of what your workflow is and what you do. Um, the first group of leads that I got with you guys were contractors, and contractors you've got to not only call them right away, but you have to consistently call them. You're very likely not going to get them on the first call.
Hmm.
We try to call within 5 or 10 minutes of when the lead comes in. There's a chance you're not going to get them at that point. So we follow up. We call at least 3 times in that first hour, and then from there we'll mix it up. Try to call them at different times of the day if we don't reach them the first day, because with contractors especially, they're running 90 miles an hour and a lot of times don't have time to talk on the phone. So it's really about not only the the quickness that you get to them initially. You want to reach out to them as quick as you can, but then also you're going to have to probably uh, continue to call them multiple times before you reach them.
Definitely.
And then when you reach them, you've got to understand you don't have but a couple of minutes on the phone with those guys. They're generally not going to give you, a 10 or 15-minute window for you to go into a full spiel and sales pitch on that first phone call. Basically, what you want to do on that first phone call is say, "Hey, I'm following up on the email that you had with whoever it was, if it was Emma or somebody else, uh, where you indicated you might be interested in getting, um, some quotes on your commercial insurance. Um, I would I would love to help. We can do this one of a couple of ways. Uh, I normally try to get their declaration pages or current policies emailed over to me as quickly as possible. I tell them, I say, hey, look, um, uh, most of your information is going to be in your current policies. It's going to give me a good foundation of where you are right now, and then from there, I can come up with some questions that I need answered to finish out the quote. Most of the time,
Hmm.
they're willing to just shoot that over to you because that eliminates a lot of the questions. And so we start there. I try to get that as quickly as possible. Once I've got that information, I'm going to go through and come up with the remaining questions that I need answered to get an accurate quote. I will generally email that back to them, and then from there, I'll follow up with a phone call. Hey John, I just sent over the email with the few things that I needed. Uh, did you get it? Do you want to respond to my email, or do you have a couple minutes to answer those questions over the phone?
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll go ahead and answer them over the phone. Otherwise, says no, man, I'm in the middle of a job. Let me email those back to you. I'll get them to you after work tonight. And so a lot of the information that I get in specifically from contractors is usually going to be late in the evening or early in the morning, because generally they'll respond to emails before or after work, but during the day they can be difficult to communicate with. So
Hmm.
just be aware of that.
No, so some great tips there. Definitely the follow up. That's what I've seen too. Is that the follow up is king, and the speed to lead, and that's pretty much what you were just mentioning. Is that the quicker
Right.
you're calling them, the more you're following up with them. And you said you call them within three times, at least three times in the first hour, which is huge. Sometimes I get some questions as to, if for some of those agencies who or agents who are not as familiar with the follow up and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to bother this person, or why would I follow up with them three times? If they're interested, they'd answer in the first ring. What would you kind of say to them on those people who think that, they responded, they should be as easy as possible to close, and they don't really want to put the maybe that they don't. It's not that they don't want to put the effort in. They just think that maybe they're bothering someone, or they wouldn't do that because they're very used to referrals who already are very responsive because of course they've been referred to them. What's your kind of mindset around that?
Well, again, my mindset is just like us, these folks are trying to run a business. They're
Hmm.
busy all day, every day. If you've ever been around contractors, sometimes they could have two, three, four, five phone calls come in all at the same time. They've got multiple people pulling at them, and so it's not that they're not interested. It's just a lot of times during that business day, they're focused on running their business, and so. But you could call once and they're busy. An hour later, you call them and they're in the truck driving to the next job, and they've got a few minutes to talk to you. So you just got to
Hmm.
try to catch them during those few times during the day where they might have a couple of minutes to talk to you. And but it's just consistency and the law of numbers. So if you've got enough leads coming in and you're dialing them consistently, you are eventually going to start reaching some of these folks, and they're going to be interested, and then you go down your sales process.
Hmm.
So
Makes sense. Makes sense. So with the all right, so I know we're going after contractors and everything for you. In terms of one of the things you mentioned earlier was making it as easy as possible for them and trying to showcase how we try and showcase your expertise, number one, and making it not a very hard process for them. So what types
Right.
of research or what do you do before you call them? Are you looking them up on, their websites, their Facebook pages, the
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
medias? What kind of like pre-screening essentially do you do
All
before you call?
all of the above. So the very first thing I typically do is I go to their website because I want to know exactly what it is they say they do.
Hmm.
So there have been a number of instances where we have a contractor that says, "Hey, I just do residential plumbing," but you go to their website and it has commercial plumbing, industrial plumbing. They they do slab leaks. They do all these things, or they say they do all these things. But when you talk to them on the phone, they may say, "No, man. I mean, I've got it on there. I can do those things, but I really don't do them." So that opens up a conversation that you have to have with them to say, "Hey, look, in today's world, you do whatever your website says you do. And
Hmm.
if those are things you really don't do, we need to get them off there before we even approach these underwriters, because otherwise they're going to make the assumption you're doing all these things on your website." So yeah, that's the very first thing I do is I go to their website. Second thing I do is I'll go to their social medias and find out what it is that they're marketing, that they're advertising. What are their reviews like online? Do they have a good reputation in the industry? Because you can usually tell when you go to somebody's Google review page and they've got
Oh,
you know
100%.
a 3.2, and you're going, I don't do I really want to work with these folks? So yes, I'll do basically what the underwriters are going to do as well. Because underwriters are a lot smarter today than they were, 10, 15 years ago. They have a lot more resources. They're going to go to the website. They're going to go to the social medias. They're going to go and check reviews. And so you want to have an idea before you even talk to those folks exactly what that business portrays out in the world. May or may not be true, but that's what underwriters are going to see, and that's what we've got to focus on is what do these insurance companies think you do, and then go from there. So
Definitely. And then also too, you can put a better case together for them to get them a better quote or get them
right,
a better rate because you've
exactly.
got a much better understanding of what they're doing. And that way you're doing your job as an agent too and getting the best possible coverage for the best possible price. So that
Yeah.
makes sense there.
So I'll give you an example. I had a home remodeler that we got to talking. He mainly did kitchens and baths and but on his website he did have a little section on roofing. Well, as you know, a lot of insurance companies don't like roofers,
Hmm.
and it creates an additional exposure and more premium generally. And I just asked him. I said, I said, Patrick, how many roof jobs are you doing a year? He goes, I think I did one last year. I said, you realize that just by having that roofing on there and only doing that one job, you're probably paying more in insurance
Hmm.
premium that you were making in profit on that one roofing job. Let's get that off there. And he did, and we were able to get him issued as a standard home remodeler. Saved him about $2,500 in premium, and so you just need to have those conversations with these guys because they think that the more they do, the more money they're going to make necessarily, or the more opportunities they're going to have, and that may or may not be true. And if you can cut their insurance premium down, um, and they have higher profit margins, it's a great win. And so yeah, it's just being able to have those conversations about, hey, what do you do, what do you don't do, and then let's focus on getting you the right rate for the right risk. And that's what we do.
Definitely. And that also that really shows your expertise as well, because I'm sure no one has really told them that before, and they're just
Mm-mm.
auto renewing their policies, and they don't really realize that they could, like you just said, save $2,500 just by something simple as taking a service off your website that you don't even do. If you don't do roofing, you're going to be paying those higher premiums for no reason. So
Right.
that
Exactly.
that's and that's also another reason too for someone to go with you, because that's something that you're looking out for their best interest versus your own best interest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're yeah, no, that's a great point there. One other thing too is that I know you've been closing some big policies and everything with us. What's your process for, do you do like a lead-in policy? Or are you trying to just get them on any sort of policy, like a little GL, and then cross-sell them and then upsell them and then ask about their other businesses? What's your process with all of that?
No, typically I'm a little different with that.
Okay.
I like to go after the package all at once.
Okay.
I tell them up front, hey, I want to be your insurance agent for everything. You're gonna you're going to be better off if we package these things together. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times with with multiple policies in one companies, you're going to get discounts. I said I really want to look at the whole account. And now we don't necessarily have to do the whole account right now, but I want to look at it and I want to see what's there so I can make recommendations if there are some things that need to be updated on some of the policies. But then at that point, I've got X dates. I know, when they come up for renewal, and I know what we're starting out with, so I can make recommendations and put myself in a place to where I am the advisor, not just a guy that's wanting to
Makes
quote
sense.
policies. And so yeah, I typically will ask everything up front. I'll ask for all the deck pages, even if we're just looking at the GL or we're just looking at the auto. I I like to have them all up front and say, hey, we don't necessarily have to do all these now, but I want to look at them that way. I can advise you on the entire account, not just the one policy that you inquired about. And
No, that
and
makes sense.
and sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. But I make it very clear from the get-go that I'm wanting to be their agent. I'm wanting to be their advocate. I'm not wanting to just sell them a policy. So if they've got a commercial auto exposure, let's at least look at that. If they've got a workers' comp exposure, let's at least look at that. And like I say, sometimes it creates policies now, but even even more so, it creates the opportunity for policies in the future if I don't get them all right now.
Hmm. That makes sense. So you're really looking at it holistically to make sure that
Right.
you can help them out, not just on one sort of policy front, just everywhere. And that
Correct.
allows you naturally to, even if it's not now, allows you to cross sell them later on or get, that
Absolutely.
full picture there and
Yeah.
raise the value of just that one client there. That makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Yep.
And in terms of, I know you've gotten some, so it's been interesting because you told me that you closed a policy and then you got referred to someone else and you closed their policy. Do you have a certain, way you ask or when you ask for referrals? What's your process for that? Because, and that's also the power of what we do as well, is that we're giving you that one person, but we're also not just giving you leads. We're trying to grow your pipeline, trying to grow your business as a whole. So one policy, it's not someone we sent over, or it's not, a referral that we didn't send that referral over. It's someone who used your services from us and then are
Right.
now referring more people to you.
Yeah, that was a very interesting a situation where you guys had referred this was a restaurant
Yeah.
that you guys referred over, and talked to him, got him quoted, got him sold, and he was like, "Hey, do you do other types of commercial insurance?" Thinking that he may have other businesses that he wanted me to insure. I said
Hmm.
absolutely, I do all kinds of commercial insurance. If it's something you can insure, I can probably do it. He goes, I go, what do you have? He said, well, I've got a family member who owns a convenience store and gas station. Is that something you can do? And I was like, absolutely. I've got great markets for that. I said, would you mind making the introduction? And he said, no, absolutely. And within a couple of days, I had that convenience store not only quoted, but I actually bound the convenience store before I bound the restaurant because of just how the dates worked out. The convenience store was up for renewal within just a few days, and
Wow,
where the restaurant had, you know, a couple of weeks. So yeah, his referral got bound before he did, but that all came as one of your, from one of your leads. So it was a good deal. And total for both accounts, I mean, we're talking almost $5,000 in revenue. So I mean, they were both pretty decent sized accounts.
that's great.
So
That's
yeah,
great.
absolutely.
That's great. That's great. And also too on the long-term aspect of client retention, is there anything specific that you do for your agency? And you guys been around for 40 years and you guys have a great presence. What do you guys do for client retention? Is it something where you're checking in with clients? Like what does that process look like? It's not always about what you're selling people today. It's, you sell someone today, but you start reaping the benefits 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, and going into the future.
Absolutely. So um, each of our new clients are set in um, a drip campaign from the very beginning. We do a welcome campaign, which just basically introduces them to the agency, who to call, what the process is for certificates of insurance or service, those types of things. And then we will, after we complete the welcome uh, uh, sequence, we will also set them on a quarterly email that they get, and then within, I believe it's 60 days from renewal, they will start getting the the renewal emails about, hey,
Hmm.
it's time, it's time to start looking at your renewal. Let's get together for a review so we can go over, make sure, if anything's changed, that we've updated it, those kinds of things. So yeah, they're I would say consistently getting communication from us, but not overly. uh I mean, I'm not sending them a email a week or anything like that. I mean, once the welcome sequence, which is like 7 days, once that sequence is over, they're hearing from us about once a quarter until we get down to the last 60 days, and they'll get an email at 60 days, an email and a call at 45 days, an email and a call at 30 days. And then hopefully by the time we're within 30 days, we've already got all the renewal information and we're out to market, and we're so yes, they are being communicated with on a regular basis throughout the policy term.
That makes sense. And just something just keep in mind, just keeping you top of mind, just to make sure that they're
Hmm.
still remember, hey, Todd actually cares. He's following up with me. He's checking in. He's not bothering me or anything, but he's just checking in to make sure that you're actually, still staying top of mind with those clients. That
Right,
makes sense there.
right.
Awesome, awesome. Any other advice that you give to, either newbies or people who've been seasoned for a while who, you know, that you've done differently or you've seen over, I know you've got a long career, so anything that you've seen over the
So
years?
so when it comes to purchasing leads in this format, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to buy leads, whether it be internet, straight internet leads, or telemarketing or whatever. But when it comes to doing leads like you guys do via cold email, I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give is make sure that your market is big enough to be able to substantiate the number of leads that you want. Whether that means, because initially we were just doing contractors, and
Hmm.
we got some good leads in with contractors, but the number of them weren't as many as what I wanted. So at that point, I had a couple of choices. I could either expand the number of states that I was doing contractors in, which I wasn't
Hmm.
quite ready to do, or we could add additional industries, which is what we ended up doing with adding the restaurants. So I would just say, make sure you've got a big enough base, a big enough group of people to email um, to be able to get the number of leads that you want to get in on a monthly basis. If you are really narrow in your criteria, your number of leads is going to be small. So you've either got to be narrow but in lots of states, or you've got to open up and have a big enough group in one state to be able to go after. I would just say that's probably the biggest thing I've learned, because coming in,
Mhm.
I wanted to be very, very selective and narrow. And while that did produce some leads, it was not the number of leads that we needed. So we had to figure out other ways to be able to grow that base.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. The bigger the total addressable market, the better for us because we're able to just get a very wide variety. Because you think about how we're generating the interest, like you just said, there's only so many contractors in an area. I know
Right.
you're in a big state there, but if you're in a smaller state, there's only so many plumbers in your area.
Right.
So once you go through them, you don't want to reach out to them too often. You want to find that good cadence where you're reaching out to them often enough, but not too often where you're pissing people off. And you need to have a big enough total addressable market to keep that going on a consistent basis. So that's a great point that you bring up there. Definitely awesome. All right, any other final things that, let's say, a business owner is on the fence of considering working with us? Just one couple sentences over how your experience has been with us, and if you'd recommend us to others.
I would absolutely recommend you guys. I would tell anybody, give it that first 3 month um, uh, uh, um, deal. Uh, commit to doing it for 3 months, and then actually work the process and work the leads. And I think if you'll do that, you'll sign up for the second 3 months, and then the third 3 months, and then it'll just become uh, one of your normal sources of additional leads and revenue for you, because it's been very successful for us.
Awesome, Todd. All right, well, thank you for that, and I'm excited to keep working with you and get you some great leads and help grow the agency.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Ethan.
All right, have a great
Uh-huh.
rest of the day.
You bet.
Bye.
Bye bye.